Hi everyone, Mars is in Aquarius and it's about to get a little weird. This week's weekly forecast that I put up on Substack had me so excited. The energy was so cool this week, and it took a little bit of a turn because the energy up until now has been really focused on joy, like outward joy, community, finding joy within community, but also protecting our space a little bit. And then for this forecast, it is so funny. Everyone asks me why I believe in tarot or how I got so into tarot, or there's a lot of religion and deconstructing within the spiritual community. And I think what continues to draw me to tarot, I always say that I'm a believer because I'm a skeptic. And this week is one of the reasons why. As soon as tarot stops drawing me in, I will stop believing in it, but here we are. So, what drew me in this week was the symbolism that we see throughout the entire reading, which was just so cool. I love when things align like this in just the coolest way. So, for the weekly forecast, I'm always asking what's the energy, right? And so we had the Hermit come up and we had the Five of Stones. And I'm using my new Mindscapes deck, well, new to me by John Rice. And something that I loved is that these were hand painted. He hand painted all of the imagery in these cards. I really prefer cards that are not clearly AI generated, clearly computer generated anyway. I really like when it's clear that the artist really took some time with them. So the imagery is just beautiful, but we see the hermit, right? And we don't see that central figure. We don't see the lantern. We don't see the star. We see this cave here, right? With a life spiral in it, with it could be it could be a fire pit, but to me it looks like a fountain. It looks like a bubbling fountain to me. And then we have the 5 of stones, aka the 5 of pentacles. And this one is really interesting. The 5 of pentacles can be really scary to see because sometimes it's predicting a season of financial insecurity, financial upheaval. And I don't always read the 5 of pentacles that way because the important thing in the Rider Waite Smith deck is the church, right? Even though they're outside in the cold, the glowing church is right behind them. And even though the card and the imagery is zoomed in, you can guess that the door is right around the corner, right? And so, what John Rice did with the 5 of Stones is we can see the village here in the forefront, and there's a larger city being built in the back here, but there's this huge storm coming in, right? And so, we see this spiritual person with the door to this temple open and then the other figure running towards it. So I love that imagery for the 5 of stones. It's like this refuge, right? There's a very clear theme of spiritual sheltering here, but that is not what was really cool as we continue to get through the reading. So, when I asked for the advice, the moon came out, and again, we see this beautiful, almost fairy path. We see the wolf howling in the background on the cliff, right? Very, very cool. This kind of unsettling, but very interesting dark forest in the background. The Knight of Tides, the Knight of Cups, we see the bow of a ship here going through some rough waters, but it's sunny out. This has a very, I got an image of Jack Sparrow when I pulled this card, that just really excited, kind of like boyish exhilaration, a reverence and respect for the sea, but also this feeling of wanting to be in it, almost a conquering feeling, but not quite because that reverence is so important. And then I also pull on the shadow. Is there anything that we need to be on the lookout for during this week? And the lovers comes out. And this card is pretty unique. So it shows two different paths, right? We can see one over here and then one up here. The gazebo is lit up. It's very bright. It's almost like a beacon. There's a shadowy figure up there. And John Rice said, we're not really sure if it's a statue, if it's an actual person. We don't know. And then there's a path over here that we can't really see. So I don't know if you caught it, but in every single one of these cards, there's the option of a path and then this road less taken, right? Or this road where we're not really sure what's going to happen when we get there. So if we're in the hermit card, right? We have the steps leading up to the cave. And there's clearly some type of spiritual awareness, spiritual knowledge at the top, but it's a little concerning. I mean, the cave is red, right? It's glowing, which is maybe why that's a fire. But to me, again, it looks like a spring. There is almost like a little moon, some cave paintings over here. And then we can go back down the mountain to safety where we came from, right? We can't stay in the hermit cave. We'll have to go down the mountain eventually, but we could go down the mountain or we can climb these like rickety ass steps up to the hermit cave. The 5 of Pentacles, there is a pathway right here that is leading through this, it looks like a sandstorm, through this sandstorm to the city. It's a very opulent city in the surrounding cards, heading to this opulent city. And this figure here is rushing in this other direction towards the temple and towards the door that the spiritual person is holding out, right? And then we get to the moon, it becomes even more obvious. We have this path here. I called it a fairy path because it's lit up, it's pastel colors, it's very enticing, right? Even these trees around it, like I want to go down that path, you know? But does that lead to this dark and scary forest? Does it lead to something even better? We have this wolf up here. Are they howling in greeting? Are they howling in warning? We don't really know. And again, we kind of have the option to go forward towards an unknown that's barely lit, right, by this sickle moon. Or should we turn back? Same with the Night of Tides. Again, I got this image of Jack Sparrow. We have these white caps. The water is almost coming over the boat here. So we don't really know where we're going. There's nothing in sight here. We really, it's all about action. So, what path are we going to take? How are we going to navigate ourselves? It's very different from, say, the Two of Swords, the indecision, the sitting there, the blindfold, really not wanting to see. Most of the time, the Two of Swords is sitting down near the water, but not touching the water, not seeing the water. Normally, their back is to the water. A very much like out of sight, out of mind. If I don't look at it, if I don't do anything, if I ignore it, it'll go away, which is absolutely not true. But there, so far, all these pathways, there's really two options in all of these cards, except for the Knight of Tides, which, the sea is vast. We can go kind of anywhere. But there's this really exciting feeling of taking the reins with this card, taking the helm. Where am I going to go? I'm thinking of that moment at the end of Pirates of the Caribbean where Jack Sparrow is singing, the pirate song, and he's like, drink up me hearties, yo ho, and he snaps the compass shut and he had this smile on his face, right? And he's just going somewhere. He's like, where is this going to take me? I know where I'm going. Like, it's just this free feeling, and freedom is the entire theme through Pirates of the Caribbean, right? And then we get to the shadow. What are we on the lookout for? And the lovers. Oh, well, not always, of course, but the lovers typically has two figures or some type of duality on the card itself. John Rice went a completely different direction. So we have this path over here. There is an archway, a gate of bougainvillea. Do not quote me on the name of the flower. I feel like I'm saying it correctly, but I have no idea. A gate of that here, and we can walk through, but we can barely see it. The gate is right here. We can barely see what's through there. It kind of looks like flowers. It reminds me a little bit of the fairy path from the moon card, but we can clearly see the steps up here to this, almost like I said, beacon of a gazebo to this figure here. Is this someone who we were waiting for, who's been waiting for us? Is it a statue, right? If we're talking about this spiritual sheltering of the front of the energy with the hermit and the 5 of Stones. And what's interesting with the hermit coming out, and I'm talking about spiritual sheltering, why didn't the Hierophant come out, right? The spiritual teacher, the spiritual leader. Where is the Hierophant in this? But I think that it was really important that this energy come out together. We need to decide for ourselves, but it's also, I think we need to feel that energy. I think that's why the Hierophant, the teacher, didn't come out. And even with this figure running towards the spiritual person in this temple here, it's a feeling of individuality in here. There's no one else running towards this temple, too. There's a whole village, right? It's only the one guy running towards the temple. So it's really like, I'm just hearing now, we need to see for ourselves. It's almost like the Hierophant, the spiritual teacher, the spiritual leader, a therapist, a trusted mentor, whoever. It's almost like you can't tell me shit right now. That's the energy. Like you can't tell me nothing. I need to see it for myself. I need to feel it for myself. I need to grasp this energy for myself. And I think that's because there is some really active energy coming through on the end here. We're meant to take the helm, right? And so with the lovers, it's like, what path are you going to choose? It's very Robert Frost with the road less traveled, right? And again, this dark figure at the top, we don't know anything about them. John Rice definitely didn't tell us, but we don't know anything about them. Is that the path you are meant to walk, right? I'm thinking now we can probably all relate to this, even if you didn't experience it yourself. You probably know someone who went through um like going towards the job that they're supposed to have, the partner that looks good on paper, the home that they curated and actually they fucking hate it and it's not what they wanted at all. how are we how are we going about that, right? How are we veering off the path? There is such a feeling of exhilaration in this reading, and that's why I got so excited about it, and that's why it's kicking kicking the channel back off. I just got so excited, especially with the moon and the night of tides. I don't know. There is there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of recklessness in the best way though to this to this card. And I don't know if you're like me, I do be outside for a full moon. You will generally find me out there, and there is something that's exhilarating about sitting outside in the middle of the night in the dark. There are weird rustles in the woods and I'm like, oh my gosh, is something gonna attack me? What is that? I've gotten a message of like the mother wind before, so the wind whipping around, the clouds. It can get very creepy, right? But I think as human beings, we're kind of weird. We're kind of creepy. I think that's why we like haunted houses, we like scary movies, we like amusement parks. It's that exhilaration, right? It's like the unknown, what's going to happen. And I think that's why when the lovers is coming out here too, it's like after we go through, right? Because the moon and the night of tides is the advice piece of the reading. So after we go through that and after we walk the moon path, we take control, we take the helm, are we going to maybe choose the path that's already laid out for us, right? There's the stones leading up here, the gazebo's built, it's lit very, very brightly, and we know next to nothing about this path here. So, are we going to take the path that's already been laid out for us, that's already been built for us? It looks like that might work out very well with the gazebo being so bright, right? And that's reminding me of maybe an Eight of Cups. I wonder if we had kept going, if that card would come out, because the Eight of Cups is walking away about what looks good on paper, what could be positive for all intents and purposes. In the Eight of Cups, usually the cups are sitting there, they're not overturned. We can assume they're full, but the tide is out, right? It's run dry in that way. So, this is really an exciting energy to take the path less traveled, to take the path that might feel a little reckless, but feels really exhilarating. Like, is there something that you've been thinking about starting, trying, doing that feels a little out there, But there's that voice in the back of your mind that's like, I fucking got this shit. Like, I know if I just tried this thing, if I took this leap, if I took this chance, that would change my whole life. And like, I got this, right? Like, I'm I'm the captain now is what I was going to say. Like, I can do this. But that really does require us to take this other path that might not be so clear. And I don't know because we can't see it, but it might not be pre built for us. It might not be this very clear and easy stone steps to a lit, beautiful gazebo, right? There might be a little bit of needing to forge our own way. And that's why, to bring it all the way back, I think we started with the Five of Stones and the Hermit. And the Hermit instead of the Hierophant, because I think it's going to be really important that we trust ourselves and we trust the insight that we gained during this front end energy that will bring us all the way through the end here. So I know I got really excited. This energy just feels so cool. It feels so exciting. Like, I want to know what y'all are doing. I want to know what your plans are. I want to know your secrets. Like, what have you been thinking about? What is that nugget that's in your brain? What is that thing that you've been wanting to do, wanting to try, to invent, to create that you haven't? Like, I'm so interested because this energy just feels so cool. This feels like I don't know, a star being born almost, right? Is what this feels like. So drop it in the comments below if you do create something really sick this week. You start a new path. I'm like genuinely so interested and dying to know with the way that this energy feels in my body. But until next time, I'm Mars and Aquarius, and we're making it weird.